Good morning to you. It's the Business Breakfast. It's 20 minutes past 8, Dubai Eye 103.8, and we're pleased now to talk about the northernmost emirate, the one that joined the UAE Federation a year after the others, the one that's developing a fantastic reputation as an outdoor tourist destination with its mountains, wadis and beaches, Ras al Khaimah. Pleased to welcome now to the studio, to the Dubai Eye Grotto indeed, Haitham Mattar, CEO of Ras al Khaimah Tourism. Very good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Thank you, Malcolm.
Thanks for joining. We've talked about RAK successes over the years on the Business Breakfast, not just in tourism, but its manufacturing base as well. And in short, we rather like what RAK is doing, and its tourism goes from strength to strength. Next month, the Emirates are launching the world's longest zip line, or Via Ferrata, aerial runway, flying fox, call it what you will. It's a real challenge, this one. How long is it going to be?
Oh, I wish I could announce right now how long it's going to be, because
you don't know yet.
I do, but we need Guinness records to come measure the length of the cable and be able to give us that record.
So,
but I
just by saying that is suggesting that it might well be the longest one in the world.
It will be the longest one in the world for sure. We are certain about that.
Does that mean they come and measure it, and then if it's not long enough, you add a bit more so you can get the record?
No, it is the longest, but where they measure it and give you the exact length and say it is longest by this. But we are basically giving people with a great imagination to think this is going to be 28 soccer fields. So the length of 28 soccer fields.
Fine, but it's not all one go, as you don't get on...
It is all one go.
Is it?
It is all one go.
You're roughly 3 kilometres or whatever it is on one line.
On one line.
Is it all down? I presume it's all downhill, is it?
It's all downhill, from connecting you from one side of the mountain to the other. You're actually...
3 kilometres worth?
That was close.
What sort of speed do you get up to?
Now, that really depends on your weight and your height.
Oh,
right? Some with some height and weight will have a great momentum.
Fantastic.
We might have to have a race, Malcolm, you and I?
Look, well, if you like, I can take you any time, I'm afraid.
Just to give you an indication of speed, anywhere between 80 and 120 kilometers.
Oh, yes. And and if you don't like it, there's nowhere to stop and get off, is there?
No, look, it's a 2.5 minute ride, so it's quite serene. And then the good thing about this zip line, I've flown to Puerto Rico and done the longest one in the world today, which is 2.5 kilometers long. The best thing about this is not a roller coaster, so you're not going to be shaken up and feeling all dizzy when you stop. It's not jumping out of a plane hoping your parachute is going to open. You're actually harnessed into a very, very safe cable. Those cables, just for indications, they're connected to about 8 or 9 anchors. Those anchors have had tests with about 15-ton tensions. Try to pull it out of the ground, and it's very safe. The cable is 4 tons. It weighs 4 tons, and it had tension tests of about 20 to 28 tons.
I hadn't even thought about the worries until you mentioned that. But what I did do yesterday is have a look at these things, and there's quite a few of them around the world. They're quite there's a circuit of people who go from one to the other around the world to chase these up.
It's a bucket list for many people who want to fly around and make sure that they've done the longest zip line in the world.
Let's talk numbers, Haitham. We know that this is a tough time for hotels in many destinations in the Middle East. Dubai is no exception to that, the region's biggest hotel market. Occupancy levels are okay, but the room rates are down. RevPAR year on year for Dubai hotels, according to STR, is down about 15%. That's revenue per available room, key industry benchmark. What can you tell us about the performance of RAK hotels in the first, 10 months of this year?
We've had a fantastic start of the year, which was a great spillover from 2016. As you remember, we had a double-digit growth of about 11% in visitor numbers. RevPAR growth in 2016 was 5.5%, and we actually have seen fantastic occupancy growth for close to 10%. Now, of course, the spillover in the beginning of the year was a little slower, and it started to pick up as we entered into the summer with our great summer campaign, which was the Kids Go Free across Europe and the Middle East, and people flew on Emirates Airlines and other partner airlines free of charge, stayed at the hotels free of charge, and actually used the activities and events free of charge. Now, that really gave us a great leverage over the months, the summer months, and as we now enter into the strongest months of the year, we're seeing fantastic pickup, a great performance in October. November and December are looking also very well. So far, hotel occupancies are close to 75%. up from 62% in 2015, if you like. So we are on a great surge in terms of performance. Occupancies are showing fantastic growth. We are taking a slight hit on the average rate, but it's not as hard as other Emirates are taking when it comes to average rate drops. However, RevPAR is still on the growth.
Let's talk about what happens next. We know adventure tourism is a big part of what you've been trying to position Ras al Khaimah as. You're doing a good job, and that continues.
Thank
a couple
you.
of others I've been seeing over the past couple of weeks. One is medical tourism, a German startup company specialising in medical tourism opening up in Ras al Khaimah, and suggestions that cruise tourism might be on your radar. Are these going to be meaningful drivers of tourism, or are these very much on the margins?
We've got to keep our eye on the ball and keep our eye on the target. So we are really focused on positioning Ras al Khaimah as the next adventure hub of the Middle East. This is the great differentiator for us. Adventure tourism may be another element that we introduce, but we're not having a great focus on that, if I'm honest with you. And we're actually working
medical
more.
tourism.
Medical tourism is not a great focus for us. Yeah, the greatest focus will remain on driving, experiences that connect with culture, heritage, authenticity, adventure, and wellness rather than adventure medical. And when I say wellness, we've got great spas, we've got fantastic, serene beaches, and obviously we are now working on the stargazing program, which is through a company based in or an organization based in the U.S. Now we've got some of the darkest skies in the UAE because we have less light pollution, and that allows you to see, the clearer skies and beautiful stars in Ras al Khaimah.
When I first came to the UAE 20 years ago, we used to do a lot of off-roading, and one of the most popular was to go up to Dibba, come across through Wadi B, through the Omani bit, and into Ras al Khaimah Emirate, and it is just the most stunning drive. At the moment, Wadi B is closed with the authorities. Are you talking to the authorities to perhaps reopen that, because that's a major experience?
We are in discussions with the authorities to reopen Wadi B. Plus, we are in discussions in enhancing some of the areas around Wadi B, where we are actually introducing hiking and mountain biking routes that will actually cross through Wadi B.
From one side to the other.
From one side to the other,
brilliant.
absolutely. His Highness Sheikh Saud bin Saud Al Qasimi, the ruler of Ras al Khaimah, is very keen to continue to connect this Wadi B with Oman. He's actually in Oman on a trip, on a business trip now as we speak. We have a great relationship with the Omanis, and we are certainly working on greater border enhancements between us and Oman.
I'm glad you said that, because obviously the Wadi B runs east-west, but if you go north from Ras al Khaimah, you've got the coastal road between Ras al Khaimah and Kasab up in Oman. Now that drive up between the sea and the mountains is a world-class drive.
Malcolm, I'm very impressed. Have you read all this, or you've done it?
I've done it many times.
I'm very impressed.
I did it earlier this year.
Fantastic.
It is
It was
fantastic.
brilliant, apart from the hour and a
Fantastic.
half you spend at customs, which is frankly a nightmare.
Yes.
But that's probably outside of your power, Omani Customs.
Well, we are in discussions with the Omani Customs to reduce this, because it really is a benefit to both sides. And also, His Highness Sheikh Saud is looking for some tourism development that's going to be very close to the Omani border, which will allow tourists from both sides to come and experience. I think we're pushing an open door here, and I think there's good. We've been received very well by the Omanis, and I think there's good discussions going on to improve that.
How much is the weather a draw card for Ras al Khaimah? And I'm not talking about good weather, I'm talking about bad weather. Because we saw last year a sort of 3-hour traffic jam crawling up Jebel Jais to go and see the snow at the top as well.
Yes.
I mean, are you plugging that as a tourism draw card?
Yes. Well, I tell you what, to be honest with you, when we knew about the snow a week before, we started to plan our campaign, if you like. And we went on social media, and our marketing team went up to the mountain about 8 o'clock that morning, and they actually took a baby booster, a car baby seat with them to use to slide down and put that on social media, and suddenly, 50,000 cars show up to see the snow. Now, if I'm honest with you, we didn't manage the traffic well on our end, but immediately after, we did have meetings with the police, the public works, in order to find better ways to manage this and actually find greater events that we can do around this. For example, we're now working on putting together the Winter Festival up at that height. So, when it snows, you're actually, in that environment of the Winter Festival, and something very typical for, the Europeans who actually live in the UAE and can feel at home when they go up to Ras al Khaimah's mountain.
A couple of years ago, we saw an amazing surge into Ras al Khaimah of Finnish tourists, and we didn't really know why that was, and maybe there was some sort of
it was
charter aircraft, was it?
No, it was our relationship, if you remember, we did with Finnair. And it was the packages that we kicked off with Finnair.
So you had a lot of Finnish tourists. What are your big source markets now?
Germany remains to be number one, followed by Russia, which has now grown tremendously, predominantly because of the UAE's new visa on arrival law for Russians. We've seen a 65% growth from Russia. Also, the UK remains to be a strong market. It is not growing as fast as the Russian market, but it is still growing at 25%. New markets we have now entered to, such as Poland, is showing a fantastic growth. Belgium, France, and Italy are also, small numbers, but also showing promising growth figures.
Mostly European rather than Chinese, for instance.
Mostly European rather than, yes, correct.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming in to talk to us again. Good luck with the zip wire. What's the launch date for that, by the way?
December 4th is the date.
Am I right in saying you don't just drive up to it, you have to climb up to it? Is that right?
You actually drive right up to it.
You can do. Okay,
yes.
Fantastic. We look forward to that. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. Haitham Mattar, CEO of Ras al Khaimah Tourism Department. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.